A bounty of 150,000 Kenya shillings was put out for the most wanted man in Kenya, the year 2007. That was Simon Matheri Ikere, popularly known as Matheri. Matheri hailed from the village of Gashie, where he attended his primary school in Kihara Primary. He, however, didn't finish his education and thereafter took up apprenticeship in being a mechanic and became one after it. Things took a turn for the worse when Matheri started stealing from his home area in Gashie and causing anguish among the people. As time went by, Matheri became more bold and vicious. He even had a gang of his own where they would rape, kill, and steal. They even targeted other people's businesses. At one point, he attacked a petrol station, killed one man, injured two others, and left one man in clutches, wounded. This is the man he left wounded and in clutches.
Sababu najiuliza hii kijana yangu ni mtu yuko na miaka 30. Ni mtu yuko na mama yake. Kwani mitaenda kulikula makosa ya kijana yangu? Ni mtu mkubwa.
Ni wetu, lakini kwa vile tumeteseka, tunabia serikali itafute yeye, wafanye na yeye vile wanataka kufanya.
The carjackings, the robbery with violence became quite rampant at that time. And one unfortunate incident where carjacking was involved, Kenya lost one of its top researchers on HIV and AIDS vaccine, Professor Job Bwayo. He was trying to help young Kenyans, and it's unfortunate that he died at the hands of young carjackers. At the time of his untimely death, Professor Bwayo had already conducted 5 AIDS vaccine trials and set up a state-of-the-art laboratory towards the same, and also helped in founding a body that would cater towards the same. Quite unfortunate we lost such a sharp mind, and he left behind 4 children and an American-born wife. And yet again, the carjacker's bullet shattered the life of service to others. 2 missionaries were killed in broad daylight by carjackers in Uthiru area. The victims were American missionaries to the Presbyterian Church, Lois Anderson and her daughter Zelda White, who was married to a U.S. Embassy official. As a result, the U.S. Embassy put out a travel advisory warning its citizens over the security concerns in Kenya at the time. Not only was he a gangster, from time to time he was a contracted killer, and police officers and businessmen alike would sought his services. This is according to Digital Pebble, and he would even earn up to Kenya shillings 500,000 upon completion of his job. And in other cases, he would turn on the people who contracted his services and later on kill them. With the increase in killing, stealing, and rape, the police formed a task force, a 3-unit task force, to bring him in, dead or alive, with a bounty on his head. So far, Matheri and his gang have eluded the police. I'd attribute this to his cleverness and, of course, the tip-off from the police he had colluded with. At around the time that a bounty was put on Matheri's head, the then Internal Security Minister, the late John Mishuki, had given out a notice to police to kill on the spot criminals who are caught armed. However, the human rights bodies at the time felt like this was a little too much. The special task force that caught Matheri comprised of the November Squad, Flying Squad, and Special Forces Special Crime and Prevention Unit. Knowing that he has a bounty on his head, Matheri decided to keep a low profile. However, this didn't last long, as a call was traced to him at Kabati, near Kenol, which is in Thika Town, Kiambu County. He was heading to Nairobi on a rented car at the time of this call. The police lost him when he changed his SIM card from the phone he was using to another phone. 2 hours later, the police were able to trace him through his network line. They alerted the police at Cabanas, which is along Mombasa Road in Nairobi, to check every vehicle that was passing the barrier they had placed at the spot. He instead used Airport North Road instead of Mombasa Road as anticipated by the police. This was 50 kilometers from where the police were waiting for him. An hour later, the police were able to establish his hideout. This was through a phone call he made. They established that he's at Athi River, 20 kilometers away from Nairobi. At 12 a.m., the three forces, the ones that I had mentioned earlier, went to his house. And this was before calling for backup from the then Nairobi boss, Mr. Njagi. After backup, they were now like 100 officers, more than 100 officers sent to the location. They surrounded both Matheri's house and that of his neighbors before a command to surrender was uttered. Chapati and chicken was served for dinner. Little did he know that this would be his last supper. The police started calling him out to surrender. However, he was reluctant to surrender because he thought that they would kill him instead. His wife pleaded with him for the sake of the children to surrender to the police, of which, after contemplation, he heeded to the call and decided to surrender to the police. According to his wife, Felista Wanjiru, Matheri surrendered to the police with his arms behind his head. But the photos that did round on TV showed that Matheri had arms, and that's why the police shot him dead. With nothing but his shots on, his body laid dead. The news was all over that Matheri has been killed. The public didn't seem concerned whether he engaged the police or not. Some even went ahead to check out the morgue to confirm whether he was really dead, because to them this was just a person who caused terror and havoc.
Tumefurahi na polisi waendelee hivyo, mwenendo huo waendelee, na tutakuwa pamoja, tutafanya kazi pamoja.
Nimehakikisha ni yeye, lakini amenona kwa kula mali yenyewe. Sikuwa nimemwacha hivyo.
Na leo tutalala, usikisi
uzi sai, hata niko na kisu naenda kuchinja mbuzi. Na kisu.
The other accomplice, known as Osama Kadogo, hanged himself upon hearing that they've been gunned down. The others were beaten and their dead bodies burnt, including of the thug who had hanged himself.
Wakati alikuwa choma, tulikuwa huku kukulipoti kwa sabuchifu huko. Tukarudi tukakuta amechomwa, lakini sisi tulimwacha juu ya mti.
His first wife, Josephine Wambui, felt like the woman that was found with him on the day of his passing was the one who snitched the corpse of his whereabouts. Felista Wanjiru, who was the woman who was with Matheri on the day of his passing, was not known to his family. She was even denied going to the funeral. She had only been with him for a year, and at the time of his passing, she was expecting her first child with Matheri. She gave birth on the day of the funeral to a bouncing baby boy. In 2010, she unfortunately died by suicide. Things were not rosy for Josephine Wambui either. Josephine Wambui is Matheri's first wife. They were estranged though. They got married in 1998, had 3 children, a set of twins and an older child. However, after the funeral, the family did know her. They set her up, got a home for her and her children. This was short-lived though. The brothers-in-law invaded the home and took everything from her. Later on, the sister-in-law took the children as she was not able to look after them, the twins. She was left with the older child and decided to sort herself out. Later, the church came in and helped her. They would pay her rent for some time and the school fees of the older child. After some time, they felt like the least she could do is pay rent, of which she was not able to. She's had bouts of depression, and not being able to be with her children has been such a heartache for her. Some think that she was left some fortunes from the criminal activities by her estranged husband, of which she said ain't the case. Don't know what else became of her. The police spokesperson at the time, Gideon Kibunja, believed that Matheri and his gang were the ones responsible for the killings of Zelda White and her mom Lois Anderson, the two American missionaries, and also the killing of the top AIDS researcher, Job Boyo. He, however, cautioned against such allegations due to lack of substantial evidence. This brings us to an end to this documentary over the most wanted man in Kenya 2007. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Catch you next time.